this together is the second studio album from London rapper Dave. Coming off the back of the commercial and critical success that was Psychodrama, Dave has slowly ascended to be one of the most respected rappers in the UK. From his days on SBTV to getting co-signs from the likes of Drake and now winning the Mercury Prize a couple years back, his rise to success has been a slow and steady one. Dave has stood out amongst his peers for a number of reasons. For one, he's an accomplished pianist with sharp, witty wordplay and punchlines and a knack for cogent social commentary. On Psychodrama, he framed the album as this extended therapy session and used it as a vehicle to discuss a variety of social issues, his background and upbringing, and to just flex at times as well. On this new project, Dave does much of the same with a fresh perspective and a wider scope. The first single that dropped was Clash with Stormzy a couple weeks back, and for this to drop as the lead single, it was slightly confusing, especially now we have the full album. It's an almost drill track with a really simple beat, as Dave and Stormzy spend the entirety of the track not really saying anything. Even on his flexing tunes or his turn-up tunes, Dave is still known for his wordplay and his intricate rhymes and things like that, but even that is lacking on Clash. Sonically, Clash is not indicative at all of how this album sounds, which I think is a positive. There's a familiarity to many of these songs, which I think is the album's strongest and weakest point. The opening song, We're All Alone, is a good example of this. It's an emotionally vulnerable, pensive song built around this eerie, ghostly vocal sample. He uses a portion of the song to talk about his influence as an artist and a public figure, as well as dedicating some time to discuss mental health issues, particularly suicide. Towards the end of the song, as Dave's lyrics get more and more emotionally intense and vulnerable, all the instruments drop out aside from the piano. It's an immediate, powerful, attention-grabbing opener, but that description of this song could almost be applied word for word to the opening of the last album, Psycho. It's a Dave-style track, which I think is a strong one, but it can get predictable at times. Verdansk is a skeletal, dark, brooding beat built around, once again, a piano sample, with Dave just dropping bar after bar, gem after gem, particularly the LBC Nick Ferrari bar. Dave's flow stays pretty much the same throughout the entirety of the song, which I don't mind. It fits how cold this whole song sounds. However, once again, you can point to other recent Dave songs that sound very similar in its structure. The one that comes to mind is Streatham, again from Psychodrama. It's yet another that's this cold skeletal beat built around a piano sample as Dave discusses his violent upbringing. Now, don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed both of these songs. Streatham was one of my favorite songs of 2019, but I just think Dave has it in him to be a bit more sonically daring. The reason I say that is because there is proof of this on this very album. The song Lazarus with Nigerian artist Boj, I think that's how it's pronounced, has this kind of beat that's dark and brooding, but still strangely makes you want to get up and dance. It's this fusion of hip-hop and Afro beats that someone like J Hus thrives in. Dave injects a lot of swagger and energy into the song. He switches up his flow 2 or 3 times. The song Both Sides of a Smile with James Blake is, to me, hands down the best track on this entire album and one of the best songs Dave has ever recorded. Assisted by James Blake, both with his guest vocals and production. In many ways, this song is fucking strange, but in the best possible way. Much of the beat is built around a sample of James Blake's own amazing voice. Dave comes in and discusses these various relationship issues before giving the spotlight to fellow London rapper Sha Simone. These grand orchestral strings come in as the song becomes more and more emotionally intense, and then I think it's as soon as it hits halfway in, most of the instrumentation drops out and leaves away just for James Blake's voice and piano. As the instrumentation of the song changes, the focus lyrically of the song switches as well. Dave now starts to discuss the contrast between his childhood and his current success, and he says things like he feels most at home where he's not meant to be. James Blake starts to lay his voice more and more and more until the final 2 minutes where the drums finally kick in. It's the most structurally unique and interesting instrumental on the entire album. It's an approach to writing a song that I've never heard Dave use before, and I'd love to see him try something like this once again, because Dave is clearly capable. He has the talent to do so of experimenting with many more sounds. This is also one of 3 songs that run for 7 minutes or longer on the album, with the first being In the Fire. We also get 4 surprise features in the shape of Fredo, Meeks, Getz, and Giggs. It's a classic verse for verse structure, with all 4 artists using their portion of the song to discuss their fame and their rise from humbler beginnings. I want to say this instrumental is Kanye inspired, with the soul sample and the strong gospel instrumentation throughout. All 4 artists are on top form in my opinion, but Getz in particular on this song is just on another level. I'm digging deep with this tool like I'm known for plumbing, something in your chest like it's Robitussin, word to arsonist, I burn all this, I stood in front of all 3 dragons and heard Dracarys. The other lengthy track is Heart Attack, with it running at almost 10 minutes and serving as a sort of sequel to Panic Attack. As you could imagine, with this time, Dave covers an extremely wide range of topics. His fame, violent London life, drug deals, immigration, and the sacrifices his mum made for him. He also discusses social and racial injustices, and I think that's best exemplified by, it's ironic because we don't know where to draw the line, man see Blue Story, they're mortified, man see Scarface, and is glorified. He goes completely a cappella in this quite powerful moment of the song as he gets more and more vulnerable and opens up the most he does on the entire album. As this end, we get this outro that is, well, seemingly a voice recording of his mother as she emotionally discusses and almost breaks down about her struggles after emigrating to this country. It's one of those moments where you feel like you're intruding on something immeasurably personal, but I can completely understand why it's on here. As an album, We're All Alone in This Together is, I believe, a strong successor to Psychodrama. It expands and builds on the themes set out on that album in new and interesting ways. But in terms of structurally and sonically, I think it's kind of held back by, at times, sticking to a tried and tested formula. And don't get me wrong, that's a formula that I very much enjoy. I would just love to see on whenever his next project is, Dave take a huge leap and take some bold, major risks. Nonetheless, aside from these small drawbacks, it's still a thoroughly enjoyable and engaging album. Those are my thoughts on this new Dave album. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Make sure to like, subscribe, and dong the bell, and I shall see you next time.